Right, so it's I think it's the 17th of May 2026. I just want to do a quick recording because all this aggression is on the increase, threats and whatever else. So, just to give you an idea of what it's like. So the nastiest 2 years of direct threats, where there's over 100 attempts where I was almost attacked per year in those 2 years, where it's involved the police, phone calls as well, and 999 calls, and emergency situations where I've nearly been attacked with a weapon and chased with a weapon. That's happened many, many times in those 2 specific years, and most days there was at least 50 threats, but your average was over 100, maybe 150 to 200 threats per day, and a lot of it was all violent and mistaking me as a person called Sven or someone called Liam. Anyway, I'll give you some idea of what years were the worstest years for this type of trouble, but not as bad as 2021 and 2022. So 2008 was bad, and 2011 was extremely bad. There's several more years that were just as bad, and I think 2003 was quite a bad year as well. Yeah, so without looking on my life story pack known as Deep Depression or Sexually Ripping Justin Langford to Pieces Conspiracy, or my life pack, or whatever you want to call it, I can't exactly say the exact dates of when it was really nasty, but 2023 was still bad, but nowhere near as bad as what it was in 2022, but you did have some very violent days. 2024 started to calm down. By July 2024, threats almost dropped out completely, but there's still threats, obviously. 2025 is the lowest threat year since basically I was at school. All other years have been a lot more nastier than 2025, although some of it's more aggressive these days and got more toned up and whatever from specific years of the past. 2025, if you look at it on a logical sense, is probably the lowest threat year since I was about 16, maybe 17 or whatever. The other thing I want to mention is also the start of this year up until, well, most of January was okay. It's when you came into February it started getting nasty, but it did increase from around the 14th of January, which is the same day or the same evening where they increased loud bikes to erections timing 700 to 1,000 per day each and every single day right through to now, apart from 2 days where it's 300 to 400, and I get very pissed off about it. It's not just tying to erections, but tying to itchy private areas or tingling private areas in certain areas, or on the impulse, or if you're going for a private session, or going to the loo or washing that specific area. Every bike on the road is counted for and being timed in that way. It's a rather personal subject to speak about, but it's really, really pissing me off, so that's why I mention it and make it public. I mean, really pissing me off. So, also that day, it would have been the last day of when people were visiting the Mind Community Day, because it started to go, there was like 4 less members that went there from that day onwards right through to today, and only this week, last week, when I went on the Wednesday, there was only actually 2 people that arrived there when I got there about 10:30 or whatever, 11 o'clock, so I left. And also someone went in with a cold, so I thought, no, that's one of the staff workers, that wasn't. I thought, no, we're leaving. So yeah, but on the 14th there was one new person that went for that one day called Ella. She was like a very, very young lady, so that I played pool with her on the pool table at that specific place. It was that evening onwards where the loud bike issue increased. Because I came back because I was still half tipsy the following day, where I drank too much the night before. I'm surprised I didn't have a hangover, and it's also the most tipsiest I've been in the day after drinking at night, out of every time I've had a drink of vodka or whatever in the past. It's the only. There has been a couple of days where I've been a bit wobbly the next day, but I actually felt tipsy on that specific day. So the next thing I want to mention is, like I said, everything sort of went downhill from that time onwards when it comes to like meeting people. People sort of didn't go there, and it's usually the sort of younger females that left, or they weren't going there anymore. So anyway, in that time period, the day after until say the beginning of February, the threats were increasing slightly. Nothing to shout about, but they were increasing. And also the burning problem was increasing as well. Got that bad today at the moment. Obviously today is Sunday the 17th of May 26. So yeah, coming to February we get some more violent threats coming, and then I get told that I'm going to be weaponed down and I'm having my life taken, or that you're being shot, or you're being injected with whatever substance can kill you directly or kill you by killer bee methods. What else? So in the Valentine's Day period, it was your average threat day. It wasn't good, it wasn't extreme, but it was your average increase of threats time period on average to the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, starting to increase and increase and increase. Is when we come to the month of March is where things get really nasty, into April and now May. So I've been so there's 5 incidents in total where I've had to deal with a situation where they sort of wanted to come up to smash me, and I've also had a weapon held up at me on one occasion, which I had to try and escape, which was very difficult to do. And then you had that incident on the bus, by the way, where that person about 15 with 2 other boys coming from Somerton to Yeovil, when I was arriving back from the 60 to 100 threats or whatever it was from Wales on that specific day, because it was a weekday, and then I had the college students on that bus also photographing me, mistaking me as Sven, saying I'm being knifed down. Yeah, so it's yeah, he wanted me to get off the bus. He said he wanted to put a carving knife in me and wanted to stab me over 50 times over, calling me a rapist and paedophile, and mistaking me as that specific person's name. Also the Liam name's on the increase as well, when I'm being mistaken as that person. So looking at the principal of years, I'd say your average, because it gradually came back, all these threats. It wasn't sudden. It's sort of from middle of January, but it didn't really materialise until February, where it got really nasty, and then from there onwards it just got nastier and nastier. So also the Sadie threats on the increase, and the Stephanie threat. Obviously I've never had sex with those people, but the threat there in 2021 and 2022 of Sadie in particular is worse than the threats when they first occurred back in time, when it first occurred, or when I was living at my old place when that specific threat occurred, because I was getting it from the Palace nightclub, people starting on me. But come 2011, sorry, not 2011, but it didn't last for long. It's sort of, it was still occurring. It sort of never really stopped, but the amount of threats that occurred just rapidly went down, and then went into other different types of threats of whatever it was at that time. Yeah, so yeah, I've had to even do a police reports this year with people because of the issues with attempted murder and violence, mistaken identity. So it'd be the equivalent of 2023 at the moment, this year. So up until the middle of January, well, just after the middle of January, maybe a week after the middle of January, because it started to increase, but it was very mild on the increase. It wasn't sudden. It would still have been like 2025, so it was pretty good. But also, after January this year, the end of January this year, all those 7 people that I knew from last year, or kind of spoke to, or tried to communicate with to see if they were single or not, they're all through, apart from one, which I can't guarantee is through or not, and that's the lady with the 2 puppies that I saw at Misterton. Now, she's the one that looked at me like she fancied me, basically. And if the option was available, then I'll obviously take it, because I've not had anyone in my whole life, and I wouldn't say she's like a really, really good looker, but good enough to fancy. And I could be happy and accept that type. She is a lot younger than me, and I think I saw her on 2 occasions, but I'm not exactly sure if it was the same person, because I didn't see the face properly on both occasions that I saw her. And again, this goes back to last year. I think one of them might have been the beginning of this year, I can't remember. She was with a bloke about 45, but on the second occasion she was with someone about 20. But it's not certain that it's that specific person. I've already just done a documentary about this, like the woman in Britport that turned against me because she got someone, but that person was rough and made threats or whatever. Prior to that, before June or July 2025, although I known 7 people in that short period of time, out of people I know in person, between the age of when I was born to the age of 43, until June of last year, July, whatever it was, I've only known 7 single women in my whole life, and that includes in school days. But none of those 7 like me, so that's why I've never had anyone. Out of socialising anywhere else, it's literally nobody, or they don't want to know you. It's that same problem. There's one specific person that I was speaking to on and off for 2 years, while socialising at coffee mornings when I was living at my old place. Got on really well, good friends. The moment I asked, if you're single, do you fancy coming to mine, or would you fancy going for a coffee and then coming to mine or whatever? So as soon as I mentioned that, she fell straight out with me. And one person, I knew this person didn't like me anyway, but this is someone it's someone that went to mind as one of the sort of only, she wouldn't say she's sexy, etc. It's basic attraction. She gave me a letter on one of the Wednesdays back in April, I think it was, to say that she doesn't want to know me, and she says she doesn't know if I fancy her or not, but she thinks that a certain person is telling her that I fancy her. She says if saying I don't want to get in a relationship with you, and saying I don't fancy you, but I don't want to be friends with you. And basically that's what the letter said. So it's been like that, and dating obviously is all scamming and all the rest of it. There's a psychic reading I had on the 2nd of May, which is Sadie's birthday, incidentally. The Sadie that people keep on accusing me of raping or whatever. Anyway, these two, the psychic and the clairvoyant said nearly exactly the same, and when I got pissed, not long after, on one specific night, I had an American psychic reading, and they all seemed to be predicting a lady called Olive. She's described as being in her early to mid-20s. She's not a single mother, which is good. What else did it say? Brunette, medium build. But it said it's definitely someone that's going to They said it's set in stone, basically. But they also said that all this trouble that I'm getting at the moment was going to increase. And they're not wrong there. Until that Olive comes into my life. They also give me a bit of a warning as well of moving from this place, saying that things are going to get a lot worse if you move, and it could be a very risky and a dangerous thing to do, and saying try and hold it out, saying that obviously it's up to you what you decide to do, but by the advice that she's getting from the spirit world, she did make it clear that things are going to get a lot nastier if you were to move before Olive comes into your life. This Olive was predicted from 2 days ago to the 2nd of June would be the final time period of when she's going to come into your life. So basically by the 2nd of June, if I don't hear of an Olive, it's been taken from me or it's been deliberately messed up by some force. And obviously there'll be hell to pay. The next thing I want to mention is this burning problem that's occurring. It seems to get worse. It's like cat claw scratch marks radiating through your body, burning into the bone, causing sore eyes, sore throat. When you're breathing, your lungs are sort of burning up, and that seems to be on the increase as well. And obviously I've mentioned the bike issue. So this year's taken a bit of a fall to the last 2 years, so we're going back into another stage of where things are getting nasty, and that's what this specific recording is all about, the increase of trouble. I'm not quite sure what the reason is for the sudden increase of trouble, because I haven't done anything wrong, but it's worth making this audio recording just to inform you and let you know what's going on at the moment, or this minute in time, and that it is going to get worse. It's just building up to get worse and worse. So the psychic said the same, but the psychic said that it's not going to go on any longer, because you're going to be rewarded for the life or the misery or the trouble that you've had, and the stoppage of getting anyone with this person called Olive. But they're saying it's set in stone. She is due to come into my life imminent from the day before yesterday onwards, but definitely before they said the first couple of days of June. They said it'd be definitely before the first couple of days of June, if it does go into June, that is. So it's basically imminent now. As it stands at this minute in time, I do not know anyone under that name, and I'm not come into any contact with anyone under that name, or what the second psychic from America said, who could also be called Flo, or nicknamed Flo, or vice versa. I'll keep you informed on another recording, see what happens regarding whether this comes true. They said it's definitely good. They said it's set in stone. They said it can't fall through. They said it's been planned. Your life has been planned to have that person, where all the rest have failed or whatever. Mind you, when Sue Hug gave me a reading, I knew this Lauren in Tesco's. I mentioned this on a previous recording. She was right, but enemies were mistaking me as that Saven, and wanting to smash me out down the aisle while trying to speak to this Lauren. When she saw my CD thing that I rest my paper on to write problems down when I go out, saying if anyone's single, please get in contact, basically. And she saw it, and then that's where the conversation went. But when I went back again on another occasion, the same happened again as a coincidence. Different people starting on me, mistaking me as that person down the supermarket aisle. And then, as a coincidence for a third time, it happened again. And this time she turned her head and avoided me and vanished. 6 to 9 months later I went back to Tesco's, but unfortunately she was with someone called Mike. And it's the same Mike who's built like a brick shit house as the person that was shouting threats at me, mistaking me as that person as well, getting aggressive, saying that he's going to knife me down and whatever, back in that time period. And that's the end of that. So in some ways Sue Hud was right, but it was enemies that caused the basically, enemies put a stop to it by mistaking me as a different person down the aisles, splitting the conversation up, or splitting up the conversation from taking place. But if you were to take that away, then the psychic was spot on. And this reading that I got with Olive is even more accurate, being confirmed by 2 different psychics from 2 different countries without anything being said, with that prediction and time period. So this is the most accurate reading. But I can only think that if it doesn't come true, that Olive has either been killed, taken away from me, or it's been messed up by some governmental force or control force or structural force that's around me, because they did say it's set in stone. It's the most. I've had like many readings in the past where they predicted possibilities, but not when it comes to 2 different people in 2 different countries saying the same thing without me saying anything. And with a clairvoyant reading who gave me a card reading, also not predicting a partner but saying your future's going to get a lot better in the next few weeks and you're going to be much more happier for the rest of the, but I don't know. They all did pick up on my smoking and my drinking and health issues. That was interesting. They all picked up on the risks of moving before you get in a relationship with Olive. All 3 of them. But the clairvoyant one in particular, the one that gave me the card reading and not the psychic reading, she said she senses there could be trouble if you were to move now. It made it sound like you need to wait a bit longer, because she said things could turn out very serious and that sort of thing. But anyway, this recording's not about all that. This recording's to talk about the increase of trouble and the increase of threats, starting from the middle of January this year, but not really taking place until February, and then it starts to go downhill and gets really nasty from March onwards. So it's like 2023, so I'm not sure how the rest of the year is going, but I should update you on another digital audio recording to let you know the latest at some later time. Thanks for listening.